everyone. We are super excited to be joined today as we celebrate Black history through interviews and chatting with Suffolk community members, whether it's alums, staff, faculty, students. And today, like I said, we have the pleasure of being joined by Benjamin Woody. And my name is Ade Suwa Ibunerika. I use she or her pronouns, and I'm joined with my colleague, Adeleke. Adeleke, you want to say hi?
Yeah, hi everyone. Yeah, my name is Adeleke Yowa. I'm a grad student at Suffolk University studying interior architecture. I'm also a grad fellow at the Career Center. I work with the Career Equity and Access strand. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so Ben, we will start with our first question. Can you please tell us about your background and how do you identify?
Absolutely. So I consider myself Black, and I also, my mother is originally from Central America, a small little country called Belize. So I consider myself Central American as well. But if you're asking what I check on a box when they do ask, I usually check off Black and either Hispanic or Latino, both. So I identify as being from both of those areas. My dad is a Black American originally from Virginia, and as I had mentioned, my mom is originally from that small Central American country, Belize. That side of the family spent their time there before coming to the States in the 60s.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ben, for that introduction. So I would like to know, what does the Black History Month mean to you, and does this celebration hold any significance for you?
It means everything. Black history is American history. Without Black history, American history really wouldn't exist. This country was built on the backs of Black Americans and the contributions that they've made to this country through its beginning and continue to make through the time we're in now. So, celebrating Black History Month, all that Black people in this country have done for this country, from like I said, from its inception to all the inventions that we have, different people who have come along. You think of people like your George Washington Carvers and W.E.B. Du Bois and all the people throughout history who have helped build this country into what it is today. So, like I said, without Black history, you wouldn't have American history.
Absolutely, I agree 100% with that. And can you tell us how your racial and cultural identities has encouraged you and empowered you in your line of work?
Absolutely. So if you don't know anything about university admissions in general, it tends to be an area that's dominated by women, particularly Caucasian women. So me being out there and working in higher ed, I like being able to show other students of color that you can achieve higher things in your working career. You can move along and move up the chain in your working career. Going out to fairs, career fairs, college fairs, being able to interact with other students of color, letting them know that there are people who look like me who are here, who look like you who are here, and especially more so for males, because with the current demographic in many universities, it is female dominated. So showing men of color that you can be high achieving, you can get your career goals where you want them to be. College isn't just for women or people non-people of color. So especially trying to get out there and motivate men of color is a big one. This country, as I'm sure many people know, has a fraught relationship between particularly men of color and Caucasian women and things that have happened in the past. So me being out there and working with women who are from that background and showing that we can work well together and collaborate and be on the same page definitely helps to push a certain narrative away and move us to becoming more of a you I don't want to use the word utopia, but more of society that has the same goals and sees past a lot of the issues that we've had in the past in this country.
Thank you for that. Yeah. As an alum and also a staff of Suffolk University, that's like very good to know. Can you share a bit about your experience as a student at Suffolk University and what were some of your memorable moments, students?
Absolutely. You know, it's been a great 2.5 year experience earning my MBA here at Suffolk University. My goal was to hopefully take at least one thing from each one of the courses that I took during my MBA program. And I feel like I did, you know, starting with a course like Collaborate, for example, how to build a team correctly, how to bring those different components of people with different skill sets together to achieve whatever that certain goal is, how to make work easier by breaking it down into smaller pieces and bringing those pieces in and putting them back together to get to that final project. You know, I had in about 7 to 10 classes, I had different projects that we worked on, these experiential projects, and getting an opportunity to work with people from all sorts of different backgrounds, whether it's the working background or cultural background. We're a very international university here at Suffolk, as I'm sure you both know. And, you know, at the graduate level, we're about 30% international. So getting that opportunity to hear about experiences of other people, how business operates in the country that they're from, how something can mean something totally different in one country versus another country, where the word no might not mean exactly no. It might mean let's talk about this more, not just let's close the gate on this. So getting to learn all those different things and how taking them with me, and especially in a job where I do work with a lot of international students, it helps me to navigate much better in communicating with them, because something that they might say doesn't exactly mean what you might think it means here in the US. And learning those different things from some of my classmates have been some of the great experiences, and making me become a much more global thinker.
Wow, that's really cool and unique. I love when you're a student and a staff. It brings so much unique advantage to your position. Well, you talked a little bit about this, but I wanted to hear from you. How would you describe your role? I know that you are a senior assistant director in the graduate admissions office, but what does that mean?
So I wear several hats, I guess. So my main job is recruiting students. You know, whether it's domestic, international, that is my main job. I recruit for several of our different programs in both our Sawyer Business School and our College of Arts and Sciences. I also work on a lot of partnerships with different organizations. So, for example, there's an organization called Leadership Brainery, and what they do is they work with students of color to help them prepare for graduate school. So they work with a lot of HBCUs and other institutions as well, and do a lot of different seminars and mentorship programs and things like that to prepare those students to be ready for a graduate level program. So I'm the one here who maintains that relationship with that organization and other organizations just like that. For example, another organization called RAMBA, which stands for Reaching Out MBA, is specifically a group for LGBTQ plus folks. And again, same idea, how to navigate the graduate process, how to do that as a someone coming from that kind of affinity group. And I am the person who has keeps up that relationship with that group as well. You know, anything that's going on, any students that they may send or recommend to us, also any sort of conferences that they do. So I maintain a lot of those existing relationships with many organizations that we partner with as well. And beyond that, you know, just general day-to-day tasks, doing things like different events here at the university, whether it's a panel on a certain program to help with recruiting students, meeting with students, both graduate and undergraduate in the classrooms to talk about our other programs. Say if a student is, for example, an MBA student, making them aware that there are dual degree options that they can add on to their existing program, or if they're undergraduate students, talking to them about the graduate programs here at Suffolk University for them to potentially continue on as a double RAM and go right from our undergraduate program into our graduate programs. So just a lot of recruiting and a lot of relationship building.
Thank you so much, Ben, for the great work you do at the admissions office. I have a friend that mentioned you while we're having a conversation about she having a conversation with you when she was about coming into Suffolk University and how helpful you rendered, like you made information available to her to navigate coming to Suffolk University. Yeah, thank you once again for that.
Absolutely. That's one of the things I find to be my strongest asset is my customer service and my ability to relate with people and talk through a lot of different scenarios and information. I did my MBA, as funny as it is, I did business intelligence because I know that I had a strong customer service aspect in what I do, but I was trying to build up my my area of more analytics and looking at data and things like that to help improve my career. So I specifically chose business intelligence for that, because I knew that I'm good on the customer service side. I'm good at building rapport, building relationships, but I also wanted to get much better at using data to make my job smarter as well.
Yeah, so just to look, like, taking you back to your career, like, part to this very moment. So what can you describe as being the biggest success story in your career to date?
My biggest success, I would say, in my past job role before I came here to Suffolk, I was working for a private educational company. It was called Shorelight. They still exist. And the pandemic came along, which ended up me not staying there just because of all the things that happened during the pandemic with the downturn in the economy. But during my time there, I actually got to build an entire admissions manual, which was a 100-page manual on all our processes of admissions, how we look at credentials from different countries. So I sat there and did research on 190, 200 countries, their academic credentials, what we should be looking for, how it should be compared to the US grading system, our process for how it should be evaluated at a particular university that we work with, the different steps that you take in the admissions process. So it was it took months and months of work, and I when I finally finished it, it was one of my proudest achievements, because I couldn't believe that I had actually sat there and put together a 100-page document that was basically our Bible and gospel for the admissions process for the company. So that was one of my biggest and best achievements during my working career, because it took so much effort to put it all together and work through so much information and learn so much about all the different educational systems of so many different countries around the world. And it was eye-opening to see how many different educational systems there are out there, and how they compare versus the US educational system, and how even there are nuances within those educational systems. Like, for example, the French educational system was a big one. And, looking at the French baccalaureate and how so many places compare the scores on the French baccalaureate to the US grading system, but learning different nuances, like the French scale goes up to 20, and there are subjects where no one ever gets any above a 15. So having to learn, like, say, even though we all the information says that a 16 to 20 is comparable to a USA, and we're getting this person who has a 14, this is still a great grade because no one ever gets a 16 to a 20 in this course. So learning all those kinds of nuances about educational systems as well, and documenting that and putting it all together, and then saying, here is this giant book. This has everything that we need to make sure that whenever we're looking at any country, anywhere around the world, and comparing it to the US system and taking it to our university partners, they have confidence that we know we're the experts on what we're doing here as far as international academia and bringing those students into the US.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. I love a good manual. I know that, it takes an even longer time and a lot of work to put
Oh,
it together. So I know what you're speaking about. So I'm glad that you were able to achieve that. You started talking about something earlier that I wanted to actually go back to. You talked about not only race, but gender in your line of work. What are some changes that you hope to see that could improve representation of Black people and especially Black men in your line of work?
I think we just need to go out and find them where they're at, and have those conversations, and let them know that these types of career opportunities are not just for people from certain backgrounds, like they had been in the past. When I first started working here in the graduate admission office, there were actually more females on the recruiting team than there were males, and now there's actually more males on the recruiting team. We're still looking for more people of color, and that's something that I noticed even in my MBA program. Was I did have a few professors of color, but they weren't Black. There was a few Latino professors, some Asian professors, but that was the one that I noticed, and I had actually even talked to the MBA program director, Jody Detchen, to say, hey, what can we do to get more Black professors in here, more people that look like me, because I think that would help and inspire me even more so if I was able to see someone in the classroom teaching up front who looked more like me. And one of the things that we have done is the Black MBA conference, which happens every year. I go to that every year now, and along
Okay.
with trying to recruit students, I'm also trying to find professors who are looking for opportunities there as well, and feed those back to Jody and other people in the Sawyer Business School, so we can hopefully continue to build up those numbers of professors of color, specifically Black professors here at Suffolk University.
Thank you. And so, reflecting on your career, can you tell us, one, what was most helpful in your professional success?
What's been most helpful in my professional success? For me, I would say it's the way my mind works. And what I mean by that is I have a very good memory, so I'm able to take in a lot of information and keep it in, and it's something that's helped me throughout my career. I remember when I had my first job in higher ed at UMass Boston, and I'd be working with hundreds of students and this was in an international role as well, from all over the world. And my coworkers would come to me and say, hey, who's this and this, and I'd be able to rattle their names off, their demographics, all the numbers and stuff like that. And it was just, the question always come up is like, how do you do that? And it's like, I don't know. It's just the way my mind works. So it's something that's helped me throughout my education, throughout my working life, that I've just been able to always have this great capacity to remember things, and be able to just kind of regurgitate them very, very quickly and easily. So it's something that's really helped me in in my education, my working career, continues to help me regularly, you know, in my daily life. And you know, it's something that, like, even my friends are always like, you know, whenever there's something they want to know a fact about or something, they're the first. I'm the first person they always send a text message to, or you know, if I'm talking with my wife and we're with her family, and they're like, oh, this, and they're like, oh, maybe Ben knows, and you know. And a lot of times I do actually know the answer. So it's just something that's, you know, I've been able to kind of just leverage in throughout my entire life to help me as I moved along, you know, from school and into my working career.
Oh, that's impressive. Can you tell us about mentorship and the role of mentorship in your life as a career professional? How has that helped you find success? And if there's been any influence in growing as well?
Honestly, I don't think I've ever had like a true mentor outside of you know, my working world. You know, a lot of what I've experienced, or what I call mentorship, has come from my family. You know, particularly my grandfather was a big one there. You know, he was a self-made man. He started his own business. You know, was always the person who showed you how to dress properly, you know, put on a suit and tie for the right moments, you know, how to treat people with respect, how to navigate the business world. So I spent my summers growing up working for him, you know, all through high school and even into college, and all the tips that he gave me throughout my life, and I've taken those forward with me. You know, how to be respectful, how to act in certain situations, how to dress properly. Like I said, you know, he was always the person who was dressed to the nines, always suit and tie, and always everything neat, combed, and you know, just pushing those things down onto his children and grandchildren. And so it's just something that's always stuck with me throughout my entire life, is how to navigate all different situations based on all the different things that he taught me while I was growing up.
Just to take the question further, so like I want to ask about social capital, so like connections with people both professionally and like beyond. So how did social capital influence your career and success generally?
Oh, it's everything. The past three jobs, you know, my entire time in higher ed, every job that I've gotten, it's from social capital. You know, my first job in higher ed when I was at UMass, I was at a friend's birthday party and I was talking with another friend, and it was during the Great Recession, and I had just lost my job working in sales. I was actually selling computer software, which I was not a fan of, but it was something to pay the bills. And I said, you know, what's something that I want to do now that I actually have the time to think about it? And I said, you know, higher ed's somewhere I could potentially go, you know, be more fulfilling, being able to work with people and have a sense of purpose at the end of the day, that you actually help people trying to achieve their goals and get to where they want to be. And so, like I said, I was at a friend's birthday party, and you know, I was talking with a friend. I said, "Hey, you know, I'm looking to potentially get into higher ed. You know, I've sent my resume out a ton of places, haven't gotten much traction." And you know, that conversation kind of ended there. And then probably about 20 minutes or so later, from across the room, she waves me over, and she's talking with someone else. And so the person she's talking with is like, oh, you know, I was just talking with your friend here, and they mentioned that you're looking to get into higher ed. I work at UMass, and we're looking for admissions people. And I said, oh, that's great. So, you know, conversation started from there, and you know, exchanged information, sent the person my resume, ended up with an interview, and ended up getting that job, which you know, helped me grow. When I walked into that job, it was an international admissions role. Didn't know anything, a single thing about international credentials, how international students compare to US students, any of that. And that was my initial baseline where I learned a lot about the international education world, how it differs from the US, being able to compare. So going into that job, which I got through that connection, and then the people that I met there, became some of my great friends as well. One of my colleagues moved on to a different role at the company I was speaking about previously, Shorelight. He was there for probably about a year or so, reached out to me and was like, we did great work together at UMass. We're looking for an admissions person here. Are you interested? And I said, yeah, absolutely. I've never hurt to have a conversation with someone, see what's happening. Talked with their HR person there, came in for an interview. He had known the work that I had done, and it was a great experience interviewing there because they were already all familiar with the work that I had done from my friend who had already been working there. So it was essentially like this is an interview, but by the end of the day, you're probably going to have a job offer. So building that capital and having those great experiences at the first place I worked led to that role, which I was there for about 6 years. And then same thing with my job here at Suffolk. My wife, who is a Simmons alum, down in the Career Center there, Sarah Burrows, she was her mentor when my wife was a student at Simmons. So I saw the job opening here at Suffolk, and my wife was like, "Oh, I know someone who works at Suffolk. She was a great mentor to me when I was a student at Simmons." So I sent her my resume and said, "Hey, I'm interested in this job in admissions here," and she forwarded my resume along to Heather, who's the director here in graduate admissions, and the rest is kind of history from there. Interviewed for this role and ended up with this job here at Suffolk. So, for the past 3 job roles I've had in higher education, they've all been built on human capital and building those relationships. So, as I continue to move forward in my career, I can't see it not being continuing on in a similar fashion because, what is it they say? I think about 85% of jobs now where someone gets a job, it's from who not what a lot of times. Of course, there is in the factor of you have to be competent as well, but it's getting that foot in the door and having people that or people that know other people is a great way to get into your career and keep yourself moving forward in your career. And it's helped me over the past 15 years as I've worked in higher ed multiple times.
I'm so impressed by your story and your journey. But I want to ask a different question. We've heard about the successes and the things that you've achieved. Can you share a time where maybe you had a challenge or a setback and how you bounced back?
Absolutely. So, same thing, working in higher ed. There have definitely been some trying times, particularly in my last job. We partnered with many different universities across the US. So working with multiple institutions at the same time can be a bit trying because all those universities have different policies. They have different admissions requirements. They have different standards that they hold themselves to. And I remember specifically it was working with American University down in Washington, D.C. And, we had it's a very highly ranked university. So they have some very high standards there. We had some applicants who we thought were more than acceptable, and we sent them over to them, and they came back that they didn't think they could get in. They didn't want to let them in, and having to go back to the folks that we were working with and having to explain that to them, because we had previously, before that said, oh yeah, they're great, they're all set, we should have the admissions letters for them, and having to go back and explain that they weren't going to accept them, having to talk through that and learn that you should definitely not make promises that you can't keep, and make sure that you're staying kind of at a baseline where you can still be positive, but don't be don't make too many promises that you can't keep. Don't bite off more that you can chew, because sometimes it can come back to blow up in your face. And that's what happened with that situation. We were able to rectify it by getting those students into another university that we partnered with, but it taught me a valuable lesson to make sure that in my communication that I am being as like I said, as mid as possible, and not over promising anything and not under promising anything either. So to keep that even keel, and make sure that I'm going into any situation now where I'm not being overly optimistic, but not pessimistic either.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah. So while we're researching like questions and all, there was this phrase I came across on your LinkedIn bio that says education can open the door to many things. So could you share what this means to you? Because I found it very like interesting and um very like looking at it, it brought so many thoughts to mind. But I would like to hear from you, like could you share what this means to you? How it has influenced
Absolutely.
your journey and the work you do at the graduates.
Absolutely. So I am a first gen graduate of both my bachelor's degree and my master's degree. So first in my family. So, what I've achieved in my career has been far beyond, that of my parents and even my grandparents. Like I said, my grandfather owned his own business. Um, he did all that without a college degree. He actually went into the Air Force and got his training for what he started his business in via the Air Force. So, while he was a great businessman, he never had, a kind of formal education in business or anything like that. And for me, to where I see my family, had come from, growing up, my dad, like I said, is a Black American originally from Virginia. And, when I go down there and visit family, and I see how a lot of that area looks, and thinking of how, that could have been me if not for the education that I received, both in my bachelor's degree, now in my master's degree, and the doors that those have opened up for me in my career. Everywhere you look now, it says bachelor's degree, and many places say bachelor's degree, master's degree preferred. So opening all those different doors for me because of my education and wanting to help other people get to those same places as well. It's been showed in studies time and time again that education leads to higher salaries, better job outcomes. So that's what education, opening the door to many things means to me. It leads you to all those things that you're trying to achieve, those goals, those career outcomes, higher levels of career, higher salaries, which, and especially in these day and times, a higher salary, no one is ever going to complain about that. So, but generally speaking, it's just the best way, in my opinion, to help you achieve your goals is through education, because the more education you have, the more critical thinking and reasoning skills you increase those. It just gives you so much more of a safety net when you're out there, and every piece of research out there shows that the more education you have, the more likely that you are to be the more likely you are to not have trouble in things when there are issues that come up, like recessions and other things that might be out of your control with the economy. So more education leads to better outcomes, and that's been proven time and time again through many different studies.
So last question. We've totally enjoyed chatting with you. If you could give yourself, your younger self, advice, what would it be?
So I would say a couple of things there. I would say one is do it faster, and by that I mean, I earned my bachelor's degree when I was 22, and I am now 44 when I just earned my MBA. So looking back, I would have definitely gone for my MBA sooner, because it was something that I had been telling myself to do for many years, and I finally put my foot down and said, I'm going to do this. And that was at, 42 years old. And looking back, if I could have done that earlier in my career, it would have been, a much better opportunity there. So I had had that under my belt and had a lot more knowledge um, at a younger age. And the other one would be to make sure that I am looking for the career that I love right out the gate, instead of looking for the career that just paid me the most money. Like I said, when I first got out of school, I was working selling computer software, and I made a pretty decent living doing that, but I, for the most part, hated every minute of it. So, when I got into higher ed, it's something that I've loved ever since. I love working with students. I love seeing students achieve their goals. I love seeing someone come in, as a freshman and getting to see them graduate, or seeing someone come in for their master's degree and getting to see them graduate, and knowing I had a hand in helping them get there. That to me gives me something tangible to go home at night and know that I help people level up, get to that next place that they're looking to go. So to me, the past 15 years working in higher ed and seeing so many students go through and achieve their goals, and then go out there in their working career, and I see them on things like LinkedIn now, because you have those connections where you see people now 15, 20 years down the road, and see where they're at, and see how well they're doing in their career, and that just gives you a great sense of what you're doing is great. And just how you've helped people achieve those goals and get to the places that they want to be, and knowing that, hey, I played a small role in that, because I was the first person that they had talked to, or the first person that they interacted with on their way to getting their degree. I look back when I was at UMass Boston, and one of my students, it stuck with me all the way to now. He was an international student from Russia, and he was graduating, and I'd gone to graduation, and he said, he's like, when I got here, you were my first friend. And that really stuck with me, and it made me like, that's, yeah, I'm getting a little choked up about it right now, actually. So, but yeah, that was one that always stuck with me when he told me that, and and the way he said it, and just I made me so happy to know that that part that could help him get along and get to where he wanted to go in his career.
Well, that is a great way to end this conversation. It couldn't have been much better. So we want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you for being a space that spreads hope and positivity on campus and for our students. So we're grateful, and we wish you a happy weekend and happy Black History Month.
Absolutely. Have a great weekend as well, and definitely happy Black History Month.